Tonight on Joy News Prime, government says it will commission investigation into the performance of students in this year's WASSCE. Out of the over 400,000 students who sat for the exam, 61,778 failed, as per a statement by the council. Also, Education Minister Dr. Ayo Edutwum says 3 years after the introduction of the new curriculum, teachers are yet to receive the textbooks to facilitate teaching and learning at various basic schools.
Acknowledges the need for textbooks in implementing the new curriculum and is working around the clock to supply textbooks to our basic schools. The procurement processes are ongoing and at final quality assurance stage, which will lead to award of contracts.
NDC and MPP parliamentarians argue over who has fought corruption better in government.
I just want to indicate that just the mere commitment to fighting corruption, we should be able to lessen the burden on Ghanaians.
We have been preaching against corruption for a very long time. People have been shot for supposed corrupt activities.
We need to be very careful so that the entire country, Ghana, will not become a mother serpent for corruption.
All the Joy News has been trying to understand this statement from Parliament.
Corruption has been extremely inimical, dysfunctional, and it has given rise to a lot of higgledy-piggledy, mambo-mambo, and then abracadabra.
And in business,
the second deputy governor of the Bank of Ghana charges women entrepreneurs not to be risk-averse, as data shows that over 40% of women-led businesses shy away from taking credit.
And on a sad note, a trailer has knocked down a 6-year-old and crushed her head. My name is Brian. Joy News Prime comes to you live from our studios in Kokomlemle. We are live on GoTV channel 144 and DSTV channel 421. We are your home of independent, fearless, and credible journalism. Do stay tuned in. Many thanks for choosing us. Government says it will commission an investigation into the abysmal performance of students in this year's WASSCE. Out of the over 400,000 students who sat for the exams, 61,778 failed, as per a statement by the council. English language and core maths recorded a decline in the performance of candidates as compared to the 2020 performance. As many as 204,831 out of the 446,352 candidates who sat for the examination this year scored above C6. And on your screens, you can see 45.89% of them scored between D7 and F9 in mathematics, whilst 45.92% scored the same marks for English language. Commenting on the development, Education Minister Dr. Ayo Edutwum was optimistic the outcome of the probe will shape and improve upon results of students in the near future.
Actually, the average is 60%, 60%. Certain subject areas went up, others were dipped, but when you put it on average, it's still 60%. So if you look at English, for example, there was a dip. Mathematics, there was a dip. But integrated science saw a huge jump, and social studies also saw an increase. So overall, the average is still 60%. But on the other hand, I just want to assure you that mathematics should not see a dip in my time, as somebody who has taught mathematics. So we're going to look at what went wrong and what we can do, which schools did so well, where there were drops, and then we are going to look at how best to ensure that we move up. But the good news is that 2 years in a row, we have in the core subjects seen 50% plus pass rate, which means that more students will then qualify to go to the universities. Because in the past years, what happened was you may have 70% or 80% pass on social studies, and then mathematics is 33%. And because mathematics is 33%, you can't have more than 33% of the students going to the university. So if English is 30%, even if all the other subjects are 70%, you can't have more than 30% going to the university. The moment you move English and mathematics up, then you are guaranteed a higher rate of entry into universities. So this is good news for the country, and I will encourage all of us, the same way that we support the Black Stars when they play and win. When our students play and win, let us come together as a people and celebrate them. So it shouldn't be about why didn't they do this. These young men and women are bold, brave, are in the midst of pandemic, have sat through exams, and they've done well. And I want all of us as Ghanaians to celebrate our young ones.
Has the D7 argument been settled? You advocate
it has not been settled, but it will soon be settled. The GTech is coming up with a memo to guide the space. I believe that we have a student who did general arts and have a D7 in mathematics. I don't understand why they can move up. But it doesn't mean that you are not going to help them correct the deficiency. What it means is that they can go to the university and do sociology. But in mathematics, they may have to do mathematics 100 and 101 to make up for any deficiency they have in mathematics. Same thing applies to those in science with a lower score, a D7 in English. The fact that they can enter to do engineering doesn't mean that their English should not be improved upon. So our general understanding is that we provide intervention for them, but allow them the opportunity to enter.
Let's understand the situation better. Dr. Clementa Park is Deputy Ranking Member for Education Committee of Parliament. He joins us via Zoom. And on the other hand is Kofi Sari, who is Executive Director of the Africa Education Watch. Let me start with you, Dr. Clementa Park. What does this result from WAEC or from the WASSCE examination, what does it mean to the fight over the period to ensure that there's improvement in the performance of SHS students?
Well, let me say good evening to you and good evening to viewers. Clearly, we must commend the students and their teachers for doing their best under rather challenging conditions and circumstances. I say so because the challenges bedeviling secondary education in Ghana are well known, and in particular, those that have come with the implementation of the free senior school policy. Within that context, we must commend the students and the teachers. However, if you look at the results, as the minister himself admits, clearly, maths and English and the performance would suggest that almost about 50% of the students who sat for WASSCE this year would not be able to progress, if we are to be honest, to the next level. But you see, the national averages and the current report as we see it does not tell the full story. Whilst we are worried that the performance on average, maths and English could have been better, if one were to disaggregate it, school by school, region by region, rural versus urban, the story is a lot more dire than we are seeing. If you take last year's WASSCE, for example, 22 senior high schools in the Republic of Ghana scored 0, meaning that in those 22 schools, largely in the northern parts of the country, Upper East, Upper West, and of course you add Northwest and others, northern region, it means that not even one student from those 22 schools who took the WASSCE in 2020 is currently in any tertiary institution. And I dare say that we are likely to find a similar trend or perhaps worse than what we witnessed last year. There is also
why do you say so, Doc? Why do you say so?
Well, first of all, we know as part of government's own effort, as it claimed, to assist students to do well, government spent some good amounts of money to procure past examination questions answered and examiners' reports.
You mean answered?
I'm talking about answered past examination questions.
Okay.
And examiners' reports. This year, the same was repeated. But unlike last year, my own monitoring and information I had from institutions and their heads, who of course cannot come public, was that several secondary schools did not receive their complement of past examination questions and examiners' reports. And so if in 2020 they got them, and 2021 they didn't get them, compared to 2020 in terms of the volume and spread, just opposing that with the conditions that we already know, the erratic academic calendar, the double track, and the fact that students spend a lot more time at home than in school, overburdened, overworked teachers, inadequate space, and all the issues we know affecting the secondary system, then I wouldn't be surprised that the performance across board, if desegregated, would not be as good as last year.
That the minister himself admits that his ministry is worried about this trend, and he says he will institute a probe into it. What are your expectations of this probe?
Well, you see, we all know the challenges. You know, the minister knows the challenges. It is very obvious that our secondary school system is not providing the most conducive environment for effective teaching and learning. And I dare say it's one of the reasons why this policy of buying past questions have come into being. But even so, if we were to address the issues that we know, I don't think that the minister will have the need to institute a probe. If the minister indeed wants to institute a probe, then he ought to be looking at the disparities between the northern sector and the southern sector, between the rich and the poor, between males and females, and even the fact that we have very few persons with disability accessing secondary education. So I don't think if there is going to be a probe, the probe should only be confined to why students didn't do well in maths and English, but all these other variables that I have indicated. But you see, this is the reason why stakeholders have been clamoring and calling, advocating for a national dialogue, a national forum to assess the program so far, look at where it is doing well, identify the challenges as a nation, and then to work towards addressing them.
Dr. Clement Apak, I'll have you hold there. Hold on for me, because the Member of Parliament for Wa West, Peter Tobu, says the absence of textbooks for the new curriculum is also affecting the quality of students at the basic schools. According to the MP, academic teaching and learning has become difficult for both teachers and students, a situation he believes will impact negatively on the future of the young ones. His comment comes after the Education Minister, Dr. Yahweh Duchum, revealed on the floor of Parliament that 3 years after the introduction of the new curriculum, teachers are yet to receive the textbooks to facilitate teaching and learning at various basic schools. He further explains that the textbooks will soon be distributed to the schools shortly after the conclusion of the procurement processes. Listen.
the need for textbooks in implementing the new curriculum and is working around the clock to supply textbooks to our business schools. The procurement processes are ongoing and at final quality assurance stage, which will lead to award of contracts. Once the procurement process is over, suppliers will deliver the textbooks to regional and district education offices for onward distribution to schools. Mr. Speaker, whenever any impact assessment is done, I'll be reminded of the need to and of your admonition to make sure we bring the results of the study to this House. And as I had already indicated, that our teachers are one of the most committed and resourceful, and I'm sure, just like they've done in the just ended WASI, at the basic level, we're going to see similar results coming from our education system.
But the Warworth MP, who is unhappy with the minister's response, argued that successive governments have failed to properly think through the implementation of the new curriculum. He believes basic education will take a nosedive should government fail to address the situation.
As we always say, it's the bedrock to development. So if you play with the education of the youth, what it means is that you are creating a very dangerous future for the country. The question was simple. How do you introduce a new curriculum without textbooks? And I asked a very simple question as a follow-up. Mr. Minister, what do you think the impact will be on quality of education if teachers will have to be teaching for 2 good years without reference material, traditional reference material like textbooks? The answer was that they've not done any official impact assessment. Right. And if it is done, we will get the results on the floor of Parliament. But the truth also remains that for 2 good years without the textbooks, everybody, it's common sense, that the impact on the quality of the student will definitely not be the best.
It won't be the best?
It will not be the best.
But the minister says even though they are yet to do the impact assessment, teachers have been given the needed resource packages to execute the learning activities in the various schools.
You are talking to all of us who have been to school before. It doesn't matter what you've given to the teacher. The student also uses the textbook as a reference material. Where are the textbooks? And as we are even speaking, he's still giving us assurances. Somewhere in June 2021, he gave us 3-month ultimatum that the textbooks were going to be ready. We are in December now. There are no textbooks. And now he's afraid to give us deadlines. What he's saying is that he's assuring us that very soon. They are at the quality assurance stage. Nobody knows when the textbooks will be ready. And in fact, the students are frustrated.
Let me bring in Director of African Education, Executive Director of the Africa Education Watch, Kofi Asare, who has joined us via phone. Now, the minister says they are yet to distribute textbooks after 3 years of a new curriculum. I mean, this is something you have been screaming about for some time now. Are you happy with the minister's response?
I'll be happy when I see students in public schools using textbooks. We've heard too many assurances about textbooks. In June, we were told that procurement was underway. Today, we are being told that quality assurance is underway. I thought quality assurance comes before procurement. I will be happy when I see students in public schools using textbooks, not pronouncements to that effect.
Is that to say that you've lost hope in the ministry?
I'm saying that in June, we were told procurement was underway. Today, I heard that quality assurance is underway. Quality assurance is supposed to precede procurement. So we've heard enough problems about textbooks, not believe any statement until we see textbooks in our public schools. And we can't wait for public school students to have textbooks. We need to begin to reorient ourselves as a people. Parents will wake up and make noise, agitate, demonstrate about the high cost of living, demonstrate about the cost of fuel, demonstrate about other economic issues. But when it comes to issues affecting their own children, they sit down, no one cares, and then we treat public school children this way. It's just not fair. So I think that we need to begin to pay more attention to things that affect the development of our children than just socio-economic issues.
You've been engaging teachers and all the stakeholders involved in this. What reaction have you been getting from them? All right, we lost Kofi Asare on the line there, but Dr. Clement Apak is still with us. Dr. Clement Apak, you heard your own colleague MP blaming subsequent governments for not fixing this problem. That means that your own party, the NDC, is also part of this problem.
Well, actually, I didn't hear him blaming the NDC or subsequent governments. In fact, I was the one who posed the original question, and he then came with a follow-up.
Okay.
On June 10th this year, I asked the minister to give us timelines with regards to when our basic schools would have access to textbooks produced based on this new standard-based curriculum that his government introduced. The minister told me then that the procurement processes were about completed and that in 3 months, the books will be available in the classrooms. We are in December. So today, I asked him the same question. He came, responded that quality assurance was going on, procurement processes will be initiated, and contracts will be awarded.
So how do you intend to push government or the minister?
I apologize. Yes, I told the minister that he ought to apologize to the good people of this country for having misled parents, students, and teachers, for having given us a false hope that the books would be ready by the end of August. We are in December, and that has not happened. Clearly, this government and the managers of our educational sector are not serious about addressing the challenges facing teaching and learning.
You have a mandate to push government to live by its words. How do you intend to do that?
Well, that is what I've been doing. That is the reason why I filed the question earlier this year. That is the reason why I filed the question again this month, which was asked. And the minister clearly, rather than apologizing to parents and students and teachers and Ghanaians for the inability of his ministry and his government to make books available to the many thousands of students in our basic system, chose to justify and to suggest that the unavailability of textbooks was not that detrimental to effective teaching and learning.
So
it was on that basis that the MP for Y East followed up with this question.
So as it stands now, there are no textbooks and we do not know when they will be coming. But the minister has assured us that it will come in the shortest possible time, but there are no timelines. Are you willing
We cannot trust the minister. We can't.
I'm grateful for your time. Dr. Clement Apak is Deputy Ranking Member on the Education Committee of Parliament. Now, the NDC and MPP parliamentarians have been debating over which of them has fought corruption better in government. This is after the Whole West MP, Emmanuel Bejura, questioned the Akufo-Addo-led government's efforts in tackling corruption. The MP delivering a statement on the floor of the House to commemorate the National Anti-Corruption and Transparency Week observed that a high prevalence rate of corruption in the country has blighted the hope of many young ones, a situation it believes threatens the country's developmental aspirations.
Data available from the African Union indicates that Ghana and other African countries loses an estimated corruption cost of about 140 billion annually, an amount that is enough, according to Center for International Private Enterprise, CIPE, to provide power 24 hours a day to every citizen in the continent for the next 3 years. Mr. Speaker, according to another report presented by Transparency International in January this year, Sub-Saharan Africa is the lowest performing region on the corruption perception index, CPR, with an average score of 32, showing little improvement from previous years, underscoring a need for urgent action. Referring to the same report, Mr. Speaker, by Global Movement, by the global movement, Ghana's current record is at 43 out of 100, indicating a perception of failure in our anti-corruption fight. Transparency International further noted that 43% of Africans are living in poverty, while 50 billion worth of stolen assets flows out of Africa every year. Mr. Speaker, the impact of corruption cannot be underestimated. A major root cause of poverty, deprivation, and underdevelopment.
The minority MPs who contributed to the statement backed the view that the government has failed in its quest to eradicate corruption, whilst the majority MPs argued that government has adopted, among others, technology to fight the canker. Here are excerpts of what transpired in the chamber.
I just want to indicate that just the mere commitment to fighting corruption, we should be able to lessen the burden on Ghanaians. So sometimes when, as a country, we want to look at alternatives to some of the taxes, for example, e-levy, one of the areas we should be looking at is how to cut down waste, how to cut down on corruption, how to ensure that the monies that are meant for developmental purposes are done. And so I will use this particular occasion, particularly as we celebrate this week, to encourage the president and the government to see that, look, we have a lot of laws that have been passed by this House to fight corruption. Unfortunately, we are not implementing them.
We have been preaching against corruption for a very long time. People have been shot for supposed corrupt activities, and yet the canker still persists. It costs the Exchequer a great deal when monies which are meant for development find its way into unauthorized pockets. But is it only shouting against corruption that will enable us deal decisively with this problem? I think not. And I believe it is in the light of this and the recognition that it is time for a paradigm shift in the way we address this issue that this government has taken the bold step of utilizing technology to plug many of the loopholes avenues through which people use to defraud the nation, because I see corruption as a fraud against the Exchequer.
Interestingly, those who are saying, oh, corrupt, and they are supposed to adopt contractional fiscal policy as Social Democratic Party, it is the only one on this continent that they can never boast of one implemented proper policy of national tenacity. So, Mr. Speaker, what we are saying is that we agree together. We want to fight corruption, but in the attempt, some are doing better and some are doing better. However, whether we are doing 1% or 2%, all the regimes, whether NDC regime or MPP regime, corruption has been extremely inimical, dysfunctional, and it has given rise to a lot of higgledy-piggledy, mambo-mango, and then abracadabra. And I think it is time we all put all these things to a stop, and as a country begin to redefine new paradigm shift in fighting corruption. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
It shows that whilst we seem to be talking a lot, still not much is being seen by institutions that we have all agreed that measure corruption in our various countries in our part of the world. What it means is therefore that we need to do more. Coming from a high of 48% CPI report of performance of Ghana before 2016 to just 41% now shows that we are not doing much despite the various interventions that have been mentioned.
What was he saying, Stephen Amoah? I've been trying to understand what he was trying to say.
Has been extremely inimical, dysfunctional, and it has given rise to a lot of higgledy-piggledy, mambo-mango, and then abracadabra.
It's time for business. I'm Charles Aije. The second deputy governor of the Bank of Ghana has charged women entrepreneurs not to be risk averse, as data shows that over 40% of them shy away from taking risks and, of course, procuring credit facilities. She was speaking at the Women in Business Chamber of the AGI's second year anniversary, of which we have more in this report. It has emerged that about 40% of women entrepreneurs are risk averse, as they do not go in for loans and other financial support from government. The second deputy governor of the Bank of Ghana, Elsie Ado-Awaje, is therefore urging women entrepreneurs to explore other channels, including the Ghana Stock Exchange, for financial and equity support. She disclosed this at the second anniversary celebration of the Association of Ghana Industries Women in Business in Accra.
Women entrepreneurs must also be bold enough to step up. I have seen too many opportunities, and Madam Kosi Yankee, I will tell you, when government, for example, put in place the small business loans in the midst of the pandemic, you found out that some women were hesitant to apply, and even when they did, they asked for very little. Their male counterparts were fewer in terms of applicants, but they asked for much more. They were bolder in their requests. And evidence all around the world shows that even when women borrow money, they're borrowing too little for their businesses, and so they don't reap the benefits. Because if you don't borrow as much as you need, you probably cannot then execute the kinds of projects you need to execute. Women are typically risk averse compared to their male counterparts. And so we can cry out for more access to finance all we want, but women themselves need to be bold enough.
Meanwhile, the Canadian High Commissioner to Ghana, Kati Chabab, has announced a women-focused bilateral trade between Ghana and Canada, which will see about 31,000 women enterprises have direct access to funding worth 100,000 Canadian dollars.
Canada's development assistance is focused on building a fairer, more inclusive world. Our feminist international assistance policy seeks to support women's economic empowerment through building skills, facilitating access to capital, addressing barriers preventing women from full economic participation, and speaking up for women to realize their full human rights.
Also, Chief Executive of the Ghana Enterprise Agency, Koscielny Ayo, has announced an all-round women support program to help female-led businesses scale up amid the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Because more and more we realize that as we keep pumping money to some of your businesses, we're actually doing you a disservice. We're not doing you good. So as we explore the finance channels, we need to explore the capacity development of the businesses to make them strong and sustainable to the point where you will not even need to come and ask for money from us. We're very appreciative of the work you have been doing yourself. And we've seen some of you grow in ways that, I can't even compliment you enough for. And we want to continue to support you to grow. I've spoken about the CAP business support and the intervention. Besides that, if you come to the Ghana Enterprises Agency, there are a lot more interventions that we've put in place.
The AGI Women in Business second anniversary was themed Women-Led Businesses, Exploring Finance Channels and Market Access for Growth. Now, the Chief Executive of the Institute of Energy Security has called for calm heads to prevail amid, the decision by GOIL, the oil marketing company, to chicken out of the Association of Oil Marketing Companies following cases of allegation that government indeed forced them to reduce fuel prices by 15%. Nana Mwazide 7 spoke earlier on the marketplace.
The last time I checked in October 2021, GOIL was controlling almost 19% of the gasoline market and about 16% of the gas oil market. And so it means that GOIL is a major player within the Association of Oil Marketing Companies. For every group, you can be sure that your strength is in your numbers. And so if part of the group is chipped off, it will definitely have an impact on the group's advocacy, on the group's, drive towards ensuring that their interests are met by policymakers and players around the downstream sectors.
But is this the beginning of the end for the deregulation policy, you think?
We don't foresee that. We believe that cool heads will prevail in the long run, and definitely since GOL is on the board of the association, we believe that they are able, or the association itself will be able to patch these differences and ensure that they stay together. We don't foresee GOL moving away, as they have said, and of course, it won't be the end of the association.
Of course, we have sensed the anger in the press release that, GOL, issued out not long ago, citing the fact that they feel insulted by this perception. The million-dollar question, therefore, is there a way that we could bring GOL back to the association?
Of course, like I was saying, there are key players in the sector as well that will not watch, sit and watch for GOL to exit, and I'm sure cool heads will prevail. And so we will use this platform to appeal to GOL and also appeal to the leadership of the association to get GOL at the table and patch up their differences so that we will continue having a robust downstream petroleum sector and to the extent that deregulation must not suffer for this mishap.
Bill for Business, we have sports coming up to stay.
Hello, good evening and welcome to the sports segment with me, Eric Wampofo. Ghana League Clubs Association Chairman Kujo Fianu has told Hartlefolk to improve their performance and not attribute their disappointing African campaign to lack of support. Hearts dominated Ghana football, winning the Premier League and FA Cup, but could not replicate those displays on the continent as they were kicked out of both the Champions League and the Confederation Cup. Fiano insists the Phobians are not good enough to compete on the continent.
Maybe we are not blowing our horns too loud. We've been working behind the scenes. I believe that a lot of effort went into, if the father of the nation puts money into a project, he's doing that on behalf of all of us. And I believe the House of Folk had some level of support from government. So this issue of lack of funds that made them travel, they did a hop, step and jump. I don't think that was the case. It's just that we need to be honest with ourselves. We need to put a little bit more. You can put in the money, but if the result on the field of play is not complementing that effort, then something will have to be done. We need to look at the quality of our teams that represent us in the inter-club competitions. Asaka's ladies have shown the way. The maiden edition, they went to Wafu, they won, we thought it was a fluke. They went to the Champions League itself and came out as runners-up. So, yes, we also need to look at the quality. So, yes, GALCA will be doing our bit to ensure that our clubs are comfortable. The little that we can also do, we're trying to seek audience with the powers that be, so that a bit more attention will be paid to Ghana football.
So are you saying if Hearts of Folk, the players were to up their game, go onto the continental stage and then do very well, they might get some form of support from anywhere else?
Why not? Success have a lot of friends, but failure, you would rather create enemies for yourself. And I'm saying that we need to do something about the quality. We need to do something about the quality. Why should Ghanaian clubs be struggling to even make it to the group stage? The year 2000, nobody needed a soothsayer or a prophet to tell you that Hearts were ready to win the Champions League. They were beating Esperance in their own backyard. Why? Because there was quality. So I think that we need to work first on the quality, then all other things will be added.
To some more stories, disqualified 2019 Ghana Football Association presidential candidate Wilfred Kweku Osei has accused the football governing body of targeting him not to contest the elections because he was the first choice amongst the delegates. According to him, the elections committee of the Ghana Football Association eliminated him with non-existent claims.
Having delivered the policy statement at Alisa, I was overwhelming favorite. There is no way anybody could have matched the stride that I had taken. So many speculations were going around. This guy cannot even carry his views across, blah, 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 here and there and whatnot. But after that delivery, they saw that no, something must be done to stop Wilfred Kwesi. Otherwise, he's the candidate. The BNI came out with a report, and it had Wilfred Kwesi in the lead. I visited most ministers here and there and whatnot. I said, what is so special about you? I said, I have traits that humbles me before all the constituents or the electorates. I will never raise myself above those who want me to be their leader.
Why were you targeted?
Because I have what it takes to reform Ghana football.
But reforming Ghana football should be in the best interest of everyone. So if you have what it takes to reform Ghana football, why would people target you?
Nabila, it's not everybody who would like to be an agent of change. Some people resist it. Others will torpedo it. They don't want good things to happen. I can sit here when a policy decision is taken at the Executive Council level. I can tell you whether it's a good decision or it's a bad decision. The project at the GFA is not for, let me say, amateurs. It's a project that must be tackled with the best of abilities. It's not a straightforward job. When we're there, Kwesi will tell you this is not an easy job. So I knew for a fact that whoever would take over from the normalization, there was job to be done, not leisure.
Well, that's how we wrap up the sports segment here. My name is Oreku Ampofo.
And it's time for showbiz. Becky's here.
Hello to you, Aisha.
Beautiful Becky in red.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Let's focus on arts today and talk about, so as part of efforts to promote arts in Ghana, the visual and performing artist led by award-winning artist Prince Kojo Hilton is featuring various forms of artworks from several professional artists and visual art students in an exhibition in Oyarifa Mall. This is in collaboration with the Visual Arts Empowerment Project. The exhibition, according to organizers, will be on through the festive season till the 3rd of January. Aisha, we have a reporter on the grounds, so this is my first time, introducing you to my reporter. So he has more, this reporter.
Hi, ladies and gentlemen. So this is the Oyarifa Mall, where we're having an art exhibition. It's organized by a team of visual and performing arts persons, and it is spearheaded by award winner Ambassador Prince Kojo Hilton in collaboration with the Visual Arts Students Empowerment Project and the Oyarifa Mall. Of course, the highlight of this event is the unveiling of this Amanua 9-footer painting, which is in honor of the COVID-19 health workers who have sacrificed and so much as far as this virus has been concerned. And so here you are, the first time ever seen, and it's been phenomenal so far. Of course, there are artworks that are being displayed, some of which are just right here. Of the artworks here, phenomenal talents being exhibited here. And thank you. You can be here. This art space is running from now to the 3rd of January. And so come in here during the holidays anytime and experience the talents that we've been endowed with.
Is the reporter for me?
I did say, and I'm reporting for Joy News Entertainment. Yes. So if you're an art lover, this is for you. You can just pass through the Oyarifa Mall because it's running until the 2nd of January 2022.
I'm hearing about a new name
for the film industry. So there's Hollywood. There's Nollywood, there's Bollywood,
yes,
and we have Black Star Films.
Okay,
what do you
make
like
of the name? British films.
Yeah. What do you make of that?
It's sexy. I think so.
It's sexy. Tell me.
It would take us far.
Okay.
BSF, that's it, right?
BSF,
Black Star
yeah.
Films.
Yeah, so we have Juliet Asante explaining to us, exactly why they came up with this name and what it makes, what it represents.
For us, as far as we are concerned, from today, all names drop and Black Star Films take over. And we know that it will take time for the message to sink down. But I think that one of the messages that is, that the filmmakers are becoming conscious of is the fact that together we build. And so this is a collective effort. And we want to be known with one identity. And so, we feel that all names are relevant, have been relevant in the past. Some of these names have come about through people suggesting names, but at no point in our history has this been a deliberate act. And today, the committee has announced the name, so we feel that everything will be set after today. So our strategy is quite a bit. One is obviously the idea is that if anyone anywhere in the world wants to shoot a film, we want them to come to Ghana to shoot that film. So we are positioning Ghana as a shooting destination. And so in all our media, in all our promotions, in all our engagements, on all platforms, nowadays, even when you go to some platforms, you see that they've merged Ghana and other countries, and we are even missing. You don't even see Ghana. I don't want to mention other countries, but you see us missing. But now it is clear that Ghanaians have spoken. I think our name is different enough, is deliberate enough. It represents who we are as a people. And we hope that, marketing and branding is a lot of work. And so we set out to include all Ghanaians in the deliberate act to choose a brand name that represents the sector and represents Ghanaians. Because, for example, if you see a Ghanaian film on any platform, you are not going to call that person, you're not going to say this is a Peter Sedufia film, you're going to say this is a Ghanaian film. So the film sector concerns everyone. So we set up a committee headed by Professor Audrey Gajekpo to engage Ghanaians and filmmakers, of course. And the votes came in, as you heard. It was narrowed down, and today we had the selection that Ghanaians made. All Ghanaian filmmakers will immediately after today adopt the name. All Ghanaians will begin to use the name. As Mr. Kwansan said, this name has represented who we are as a people for a long, long time. It embodies the spirit of Ghanaians. Ghanaians are the Black Star of Africa. And so for me, I feel that this has come home. And today is an exciting day. And today is a win for all Ghanaians.
And so Aisha, we no longer have the Kuma wood, the Gali wood, all the woods that we have here in Ghana.
The Ijakos, the Kumericans, and all of them come under BSF. I think it's a fine opportunity for us to now link up with
Boris Kujo,
and all those people out
Kofi
there.
Serebo and all the Ghanaians making Ghana proud. Boris Johnson.
Boris Kujo, I beg your pardon. And that would take us far.
I think the name itself, some people don't really agree on, choosing this name. But
I think it's a fine name.
Yeah,
it is.
Black Stars film. Black Stars film.
Kofi.
Anytime, Aisha. Boris Johnson, it's not part of the list. It's Boris Kujo. We love you, everyone.
Thank you. Sorry. That'll be it for Showbiz. Welcome back to Joy News Prime to the rest of our stories. And on a rather sad note, a primary one pupil of TI Ahmadiyya School in Kumasi has been killed in an accident involving a long vehicle truck at Asafo in the Ashanti region. 6-year-old Princess Achubema in school had closed from school and was heading to a food joint around her school when she was hit by the tail end of the trailer. The vehicle with registration number 549711, whilst negotiating a sharp curve, knocked down the girl and ran over her head.
As family and friends gathered at the accident scene, tears flowed. Residents conversed in astonishment. A sorrowful moment on the Asafo Graphic Street. An eyewitness, Kweku Amankwa, disclosed what he saw.
So after the driver made a turn, the child who was walking along the gutter was pushed by the car tire. Even the driver did not notice. I drew the attention of the driver.
Some angry residents say they have consistently engaged wholesale shops to avoid offloading goods from long trucks in the area to avert such incidents.
We have made several complaints about heavy trucks using this road. Children use this road a lot. All what they could tell us after every caution was that we are only shop owners. Some cars can break down for 7 hours, preventing other cars from coming or going. If the pavement was extended, the child could have run to the other side. We have made several pleas, but to no avail.
Assembly member of Asafo Electoral Area, Ernest Okai, says the wholesalers have consistently defied orders from the KMA to desist from offloading goods in the area. The killing of the girl is a clarion call for immediate action to stop them.
Already, we anticipated that such thing can happen. We have these stores at Asafo markets that they sell flour. They have come to rent a lot of wholesale stores inside Asafo. Anticipating that this can happen, we've served them a KMA letterhead letter to them that they shouldn't allow these long trucks to come and offload the flour here, because anything can happen. I have a copy of the letter. They also have a copy of the letter. But it's a gross disrespect to authority. That's why we are witnessing what have just happened this afternoon. So we are taking this opportunity to appeal to them that henceforth they should abide by the KMA rules and regulations, that this long truck shouldn't come and offload load at Asafo. Because apart from this incident, anything can happen. The driver can fail brake. So we are appealing to them not to come and offload the flour here again. That's why we are saying.
Nana Auku's report read to you.
From next year, the Office of the Special Prosecutor will undertake a major corruption risk assessment of all public contracts to ensure value for money and avoid what they describe as payment of needless judgment debts. Ahead of that review, the Special Prosecutor, Kesia Jabing, has written to public institutions and companies to prepare and submit integrity plans intended at assessing deficiencies in their regulations, policies, guidelines, administration, instructions, and internal control mechanisms to determine their vulnerability and exposure to corrupt practices. Addressing a news conference, the Special Prosecutor said no public procurement or contract will escape its scrutiny.
The OSP from January 2022 would also require all public institutions, departments, agencies, and companies to prepare and submit to the OSP integrity plans intended at assessing deficiencies in their regulations, procedures, policies, guidelines, administration instructions, and internal control mechanisms to determine their vulnerability and exposure to corrupt practices and the prescription of curative measures to manage such susceptibility to corruption and corruption-related offenses. I am also setting up internal control mechanisms at the OSP to prevent corruption at the OSP itself. The OSP would also carry out anti-corruption risk assessment and review from January 2020 of all major public contracts, legislation, and draft legislation. This is intended to avoid toxic deals and the prevalence of judgment debts and arbitration awards. The office would also undertake continuous education and information of the public and the publicizing of detected acts of corruption. The OSP would vigorously investigate and prosecute cases of alleged or suspected corruption and corruption-related offenses, and recover proceeds of such offenses through property tracing of tainted property and currency, in line with our vision of rendering corruption a costly enterprise.
The Supreme Court had to preside on 2 election petitions in 2012 and 2020 by the NPP and NDC over irregularities attributed to returning officers. The special prosecutor is serving notice it will not be business as usual in future elections, as he warns the conduct of election officials may be subjected to prosecution.
And we have corruption, intimidation, and personation in respect of election. And this is very dear to my heart. Where a person endeavors to influence the conduct of a voter in respect of an election by threat of an evil consequence to be caused to the voter or to any other person on account of the conduct of the voter, or seeks to corrupt a voter or impersonates another person in respect of an election. Then, one which is dearer to my heart, falsification of return at election, where a person, as a public officer charged with the counting of votes or the making of a return at a public election, willfully falsifies the tally of votes or makes a false return of the votes. Then we have withholding of public money by a public officer. That is where a public officer who is bound in that capacity to pay or account for money or a valuable thing, or to produce or give a document or any other thing up, fails to do so when that person is lawfully requested to do so.
Already, the Office of the Special Prosecutor has penciled down 31 cases for prosecution, but is the prosecutor, Kesia Jabing, under pressure to let go of some of the cases?
It is instructive to state that the OSP has the mandate to investigate and prosecute these offenses, whether or not the offenses were committed in Ghana or in a foreign country, so far as the act or conduct constitutes a crime in Ghana. The OSP, ladies and gentlemen, has completed a review of all the alleged cases of corruption and corruption-related offenses before it. Currently, the OSP is investigating 31 active cases, and it will, in due course, commence the prosecution in the courts of the cases it considers probatively strong. There is no case commenced by the OSP pending in the courts at the moment. I inherited one court case, that is the Republic against Mahama Ayariga and another, which I discontinued in October after a careful scrutiny of the available evidence led me to conclude that the Republic will be unable to prove its case on the standard of proof required in criminal cases, that is, proof beyond reasonable doubt.
The Inspector General of Police, Dr. George Akufo Dampare, has promised to facilitate the operationalization of the Tebibiam police station. Parts of the newly built station was set ablaze by suspected arsonists just days before it could be commissioned. Residents in the area who have been traveling several kilometers to access police services earlier told Joy News the burning of the station, coupled with several other violent crimes there, made them feel unsafe.
What's the date of the election?
On the scene, interrogations being conducted by personnel from the Ghana National Fire Service in one of the now burnt offices of the newly built Tebibiam police station. It is suspected to have been set ablaze by an unknown arsonist just days before its official commissioning on December 1, 2021. This is part of preliminary assessment since the fire occurred 10 days ago.
The entire ceiling has been touched. We're having remnants of the furniture in here also having been burnt down. The wall, has been blackened from the smoke, the thick smoke that engulfed this entire room.
Assemblyman for Kweku Pamfo electoral area, Jonas Tenge, explains how the station was to keep a leash on a series of violent crimes in the area.
The security issue is not good over here. We have the issues of Langard, Sanwini, and I can also say that even killing of human being, it occurred twice. The first one occurred somewhere 2011, and recently 2019, they killed somebody over here. But you will be there, and then people will come and attack a community, and then they will beat them. So because of that, we call on the municipal to commission this police station for us. And
many of the residents here are shaken. They do not know what or who will be the next victim.
We are all afraid because all of us are afraid, like we are inside. What I'm afraid is my shop is very near to the police station. If people can burn the police station, they can also come and burn my shop because we don't know what we do to them.
Some killing around this Kwakopamfo. We fought on Amasaman before they came and took the dead body. So that was the reason why we thought if the police station, which is our security to benefit, and even it means some people don't want the police station to come on. It means we are in danger.
While they call for speedy investigations into the case, they want the municipal assembly to expedite measures towards operation.
I want the authorities to turn their attention quickly for the repair of the police station. And when anything happens, something happened to you, the only place we can access the police is Ama Samai and Sawam Kaswa.
So you had some residents at Tebibian calling for the immediate operationalization of the station. Well, the IGP has visited the area, assuring residents it will facilitate the refurbishment and commissioning of that station. Here is Assembly Member for the area, Jonas Tenge.
Today, even though he didn't come on a good note, but it has served the community because he coming here has attracted attention, and the police station has been there for a long time. Since he has come, I think now a timeline has been out for the assembly to finish everything, and he has also promised to give some amount of money so that they'll finish it on time, and then his business will start working there.
The coalition of Krobo youth in the Yilo and Lower Manya Krobo municipalities have promised to deploy 1,000 young people to provide security for workers of the Electricity Company of Ghana. Residents of Somenya, Oduma, Sekbon and its environs have been without power for 4 days after the Electricity Company of Ghana closed its Krobo district office following threats from some youth groups in the area. Among other things, the ECG claim is overbilling them. Businesses in the area have been affected as residents call for urgent intervention.
If they like no customers, but this one, as I'm wearing it for her, she'll go and roam until maybe evening before she'll come and remove it. And the cost of using we remove the fridge, so we send it to somewhere. So the business is not going in at all. It's affecting us a lot.
A day I used to get something like 200, 25, then things, 15, sometimes, yeah. And now, even 20 Ghanas are difficult. Yeah, they are not coming. So if you come to a heat day, you see like the way I'm married, the man, see the way you sweat. Heat day. So you can't work. That be the issue. Now unless I took my machine to a certain filling station before they'll charge it for me.
Convener of the coalition, Frederick Oakley, says the group will make available 1,000 young people to provide security for workers of ECG.
We are here and they are here to work, and there is nothing we can do to stop them. We want to tell our brothers and sisters that they have no right whatsoever to tell ECG what they should do. We are sorry for what happened between us and ECG, and we want them back here on our land. We have to give us 500 men from Lower London and 500 men from Hilo to add up to 1,000 people to provide security. And we also appeal to the police because they are also here and they are suffering safety to join us, help us fix this situation so we can provide security for the people on the ECG. We are pleading with the ECG to come back here and the guidance of our chiefs, as I've already said, I repeat, we have an issue with ECG, go to them in their office here, and then you will sit down with them, discuss over, and they will give you whatever.
Let's get on to the phone line now and speak with the Tema Regional PR of the Electricity Company of Ghana, Sechua Mensah. What exactly is the cause of the power outage in the Korbo district?
Okay, hello, good evening. For the power outage, our preliminary investigation showed that there's been some tampering on our network. And to safeguard life and property, we have had to shut down because we are not sure of the integrity of the network as at now. About somewhere last week, parts of the area were off and other parts were on. And somebody or some people entered our system, our network, and decided to transfer load from the transformers that were off onto the transformers that were on. Eventually, these transformers got blown. We've lost about, I think, 4 or 5 transformers at a go. And then we've also had an instance of a vandalized transformer, a burnt transformer at the St. Martin's Hospital at Agomanya, around the St. Martin's Hospital at Agomanya. We believe that certain people intentionally set fire to that particular transformer. It's on the ground. We've mounted it on the ground. It's a 500 kVA transformer. It serves quite a large area, and some people intentionally set fire to this transformer. So with all these transformer issues, with all this tampering, we are not sure of the integrity, and it is our responsibility to provide safe quality and reliable electricity to the people of Ghana. We need to safeguard life. We need to safeguard property. If we should keep supplying, we are not sure whether it could cause some dangers. For instance, it could cause fire outbreaks.
So what progress have you made in resolving this issue?
We are still working on it. We are, like I mentioned, we did some preliminary investigations, and this is what we got to know. So we are still working on it. As a matter of fact, we will have to replace all these damaged transformers. We'll have to replace all the damaged cables, the bent cables. We have to replace everything. So it's a work in progress, and we are working assiduously as fast as we can.
I'm grateful for your time. Sechua Mensah is Tema Region PRO of the ECG. Now, Ghana's quest to reach a low-carbon construction and affordable housing might never see the light of day, as a technology birthed 46 years ago is still struggling to gain attention. Love News investigation has revealed the tech block press used for molding laterite blocks has been abandoned. On Tech Thursday, Love FM's Kwesi Deborah looks at how Ghana could have taken advantage of this promising innovation.
So we are now putting the laterite into the machine, the molded machine. And you can see this bucket is our gauge bucket that we use. So when you see this bucket, we are using the purpose for the gauge. Then you add a few laterite with cement so that you have the machine will be filled to its capacity. My other counterpart is bringing the lever to me for compacting. So you can see I'll hold it like this and press it 3 times, then it's compact. After that, I'll give it to him back. Lift it, then the molded block will be out. So lift it. As you can see, it's coming up. It's coming up. Then you are finished with your molded block. This is the way tech block is molded.
This machine is called Tech Block Press, designed at KNUST by the Center for Settlement Studies and the Department of Mechanical Engineering. And as you can see here, we have a copyright to the manual of the tech block, issued by the Ministry of Works and Housing in the year 1975. So in Kumasi, some of the areas where the buildings were constructed and which are still performing functionally after 50 years. And right here on campus, all the buildings that were constructed are still performing, for the past 50 years or more. And for many of you who are very familiar with even the university campus, those who are familiar with Katanga Hall, the structure behind which is normally called Shaba, is a typical example of a building, 33-seater hostel, which was built with this material and has been in perfect shape up till now. If you look back at the way our forefathers used this material to construct Atakpame and those buildings, there were a lot of problems with the structures, because of the way they built it, and that has more or less sort of created some impression in the minds of people that this is a cheap material. And so when after a time the economy was improving and cement-based materials were now more in the system, people tend to look down on the material and saw it as an inferior quality. One bag of cement will normally produce about 100 blocks. So per our estimation, one block will be costing around 1 cedi 50 pesos to 2 cedis. We are of the feeling that with how far we came with the technology, if there was government policy to direct its use in the country, perhaps we could have solved many of the rural, especially rural issues related to housing, including even the issues about schools under trees, where we could have used this to build very nice pavilion for school children.
The Ones Who Keep Walking film, a Johnny Walker production, has been launched in Kumasi. The film showcases inspiring stories of creators who are turning the attention of the world to Africa. The film features more than 20 defiantly optimistic voices from across Africa, including some Ghanaians. There's more in the following report.
The event brought together entertainment and film industry players and some selected media persons in Kumasi. The Kumasi showing of Ones Who Keep Walking film was a sequel to that of Accra. The 45-minute movie showcased inspiring stories of creatives who are turning attention of the world to Africa. Lesego Mohale is category marketing manager at Guinness Ghana.
After 200 years of Johnny Walker, going in, the idea was around how do we relaunch what Keep Walking means. I often say that the last 2 years that we've been living through has been a period where we all need a motivator, where we all need inspiration. And more than anything, Johnny Walker has always celebrated boundary pushers. Johnny Walker has always celebrated people who take bold steps. Johnny Walker has always wanted to tell stories of people who are defiantly optimistic. And I think the ability to create a platform where we can tell these stories by an African filmmaker about Africans is a really powerful narrative that I think we all need to keep ourselves inspired for the next 200 years going forward.
Lebo Mohale encouraged the youth to be true to their passion and not be apologetic. She says challenges should not stop no one in pursuing greatness.
We would really like to see a generation of individuals who are inspired to live their passions, to not be unapologetic, to be defiant, and to really tell the African story and live their passions boldly in a way that it can inspire generations and generations and generations after that. We're not saying there will not be challenges. And I think it's important about when you find your passion, when you find the thing that ignites a fire in you and ignites creativity in you, keep at it. It's not going to be easy. It's a journey. It's a step every day. But if you keep walking, what can go wrong? I'm living my Keep Walking journey. He's living his Keep Walking journey. Let us all live our Keep Walking journeys.
Ghanaian artist Nana Dansoewa Asante is one of the few Ghanaians featured in the film. He says connecting with Johnny Walker has impacted his brand.
It definitely lifted some of the ideas that I was doing to another level, because it is my goal to tell it to the world what Africa is, and how strong our ideas and perceptions can change the world or impact the world. So I feel very empowered, and it's an honor to be a part of this.
Prince Apia reporting.
In the studio, my name is Aisha Ibrahim, and we're coming to you live from our studios. We'll take a break on Joy News Prime. When we return, there's more business and sports.
Now, as part of measures to ensure that Ghanaian businesses benefit from the Continental Free Trade Agreement area, the National Coordination Office is enhancing its strategic communication and awareness for SMEs in the economy. The move is intended to speed up the process for more companies to understand the trade deals and participate effectively in this regard. The head of strategic communication at the National Coordination Office of AFTA, Catherine Afeku, has been explaining to Joy Business some of the expectations in the strategy. She spoke exclusively to us after taking the new mandate as the head of communications.
A lot to learn. It's a learning curve. There's a lot of information to be disseminated, but I would say it's also an opportunity and hope for young SMEs, big companies, small companies alike to see AFTA as a new level, a new horizon in trade amongst ourselves as a people. There are more business in Ghana who trade outside of Africa than within Africa, and rightfully so, because of these non-tariff barriers, real impediments of logistics, transport, moving from country A to country B. It's even easier to fly goods to, let's say, the European continent than to a sister country in Africa. But that is why AFTA has been set up. That is why we have to work together to remove these artificial impediments. And you'll be amazed if you have to ship things from Kenya to Ghana or from Ghana to Kenya, and it will take you less than 5 or 6 hours. The benefit of feeding or clothing or sharing a product locally manufactured within the continent to 1.2 billion, I think it's more exciting than sending it to a different continent. But it will take time. That is why NCO is set up, to encourage people, to really give them that feeling of you can't give up yet. It's baby steps. Remember, it's January 2021 that it started, and the journey of 1,000 miles definitely will start with one step. I've just been brought on board to help with the communications. We have Dr. Farid Arthur, who's the head of the the National Coordination Office. You have other consultants who've been brought aboard to do enterprise audit.
Now, the Association of Rural Banks has renewed its calls and appeals to government to reconsider a reduction in the corporate tax rate for rural and community banks. We have more in this report.
The annual Rural Banking Week celebrations of the Association of Rural Bank Ghana attract leadership of the industry across the country to one spot to discuss and deliberate over issues affecting the rural and community banks. The 8th National Rural Banking Week celebrations this year was under the theme The Resilience of the Rural and Community Banks in the COVID-19 pandemic era. One of the issues discussed, among others, was the corporate tax rate. It had been increased from 8% to 25% since 2016. Leadership observed the hikes in the rate have hampered the development role of the RCBs, especially in its corporate social investment and responsibilities. Comfort Owusu is executive director.
We are still pleading with the government that the corporate tax that was raised from 8% to 25% is still too much on us, because we live within the community. We have to, discharge our corporate social responsibilities, and we are appealing to the government to come to our aid, by reducing the tax, maybe to about 15% for us, and we'll appreciate that. We know that this government has a hearing here, even though we've been speaking about it from 2016 up to this time. You go the first time, you don't get it. Second time, you don't get it. You don't get tired. You don't have to stop, because you know that definitely it's your father that can provide you that kind of thing.
National President Kwame Owusu-Secho Esquire says their woes are compounded by the suspension of dividend payment, which has stalled the increase in stated capital of some of its members.
The local funds of some rural banks and community banks will defund self-regulated institutions like NTAC and SIC Financial Services Limited are adversely affecting operational viability and could easily lead to liquidity issues, which has tendency of loss of public confidence if you are not taking it carefully. The suspension of payment of dividends has stalled the increase in stated capital of some RCBs, and we wish to appeal to Bank of Ghana to allow the provision of payment in accordance with the Companies Act and Act 930 to prevail, since internal capital accumulation has been substantial during the suspension period and is creating a whole lot of problems for directors.
Head of the other banking supervision at the Bank of Ghana, Yao Sapong, wants key stakeholders in the rural and community banking industry to form stronger synergies.
We anticipate that rural and community banks will take advantage of emerging digital banking trends in collaboration with ARB Apex Bank to roll out tailored digital products and services with appropriate risk management structures to improve operational efficiency, deepen financial inclusion, and increase customer satisfaction. I would like to ask key stakeholders in the rural banking industry to use their various strengths to build appropriate synergies for the sector. I am referring here to the individual banks and Association of Rural Banks and the ARB Apex Bank.
Meanwhile, Acting Managing Director of ARB Apex Bank, Alex Akwesiewa, believes it is important for this call to be heeded to.
RCBs should continue to strengthen and monitor their business continuity plans to enable us respond appropriately to any associated threats.
Meanwhile, officials of the association say the overall profitability of the rural banking sector was very positive. Prince Apia reporting.
Now, data collection and domestic revenue mobilization is one major concern of metropolitan, municipal and district assemblies across the country. Available data indicates permanent revenue collectors at some MMDAs are unable to collect enough to pay their salaries each month. A digital revenue collection system is being promoted by the Foundation for Security and Development in Africa and Oxfam to improve the situation. We have more in this report.
Studies carried out by international organizations have shown when the Internally Monetary Fund IGF is digitized, the systems will be collecting 83% of the revenue. According to FOSDA, 45% of youth businesses are taking steps to digitize their businesses. Most districts that have taken advantage of digitization are positioned to make the most of such businesses. Solomon Okain is a program officer.
From our perspective as an organization, from the dialogue we had last year, we know that Cape Coast Municipal Assembly, Shama Municipal Assembly, Sekendita Kradi Municipal Assembly have digital platforms, and they are making progress with that. And so MMDAs, even though not all MMDAs have the capacity to digitize the IGF system because of the cost involved, I can assure you, maybe you can go and check that the 29 districts in Greater Accra have some form of digital platform. I can talk about Gan East Municipal Assembly, I can talk about Wejagba Municipal Assembly, I can talk about Adenta, I can talk about Tema Municipal Assembly, who in the presentation I have achieved over 8 million Ghana cedis as of the end of September this year. And one of the innovation that is contributing to them achieving this feat is because they have digitized their IGF systems.
Assistant Director at Techiman Municipal Assembly, Joseph Frimpong, is convinced digitization will help in mobilizing more revenue.
Digitalization of revenue mobilization is very, very crucial. It's very, very important. And so with the Ghana card, that is the identification for the individuals, the property addressing system, and then the street naming. All these three coming into play will let us know who is supposed to pay, where the person is, and how to locate the person. And when we are able to gather all this, and then we are able to take people on, then definitely we'll be able to gather more revenue.
And that'll be it for business. I'm Charles Aita. We have sports coming up. Do stay.
Hello, good evening and welcome to the second part of the sports segment with me, Ore Kuwampofo. All is set for Ghana's Richard Comey to go head-to-head with Ukraine's Vasily Lomachenko at the Madison Square Garden in New York on December 11th. The former IBF lightweight champion is ready for the 12-round showdown. Comey has been speaking to Joy Sports' Hans Mensah Handel, who is in New York.
I'm always prepared. I've been training after my last fight in February. I go back in and I've been training and really working out in the gym. I got my training Gary, Ray, and we're working things that we need to do work on just to make sure I come out Saturday.
And you mentioned that losses are part of the sport of boxing. The main thing is to bounce back. You've had one fight where you've been successful. Just how important is it that you continue with victory on Saturday night?
Like you said, this fight is for number one sport, and whoever wins that fight is going to fight for the world title. So it's very important to go in there and do what you got to do to win this fight. And I've always, I want to be a champion, world champion again. So, you know what I mean? It is what it is. I got to do then do what I got to do and put out the performance. Give my all, and then whatever happens, so be it.
And this one I'm going to let you speak on, because this is a message for the fans in Accra, Manchago, and Bukom. You know, what's the message to the Miniji message?
Takite kuchu the second. Obinu denje denje you me adu mochikanya fe mi du mogana. Me du mogana fe na. E de can be ni amebelo kuna me na me small boxes e mi no mi ame fe o ni so ni mo mi no fe na yente. Ni mo ba fe drum o Saturday o ke kunu yeli baba. Ni ya bi fia be ne baba. Mi ya ni ya kunke no fia no aya wo mi ring game.
So we are done here at the Madison Square Garden. The final press conference, Vasily Lomachenko versus Richard Comey. And Lomachenko, obviously, very respectful of Richard Comey's abilities as a boxer. Richard Comey also repaying that courtesy. And we had Lou DiBella, one of the managers of Richard Comey, thanking Lomachenko for the opportunity for this particular fight. Comey, very confident, all smiles ahead of the fight, obviously excited at the opportunity. Mentioned that the most important thing in boxing is to return to winning ways when you lose, and that is what he aims to do. He's already won one fight after losing to Teofimo Lopez and losing that IBF World Championship to him. He also talks about putting up a show. I spoke to him earlier, and he says he's going to give everything. He's going to give absolutely everything because he knows the possibilities. He knows the opportunities that are waiting a victory in space on Saturday night. Lomachenko obviously also says he has no health problems, and so he's prepared for this particular one. Earlier, just a while ago, I spoke to Amubediaku, who is the manager of Richard Comey. Also mentioned that they are prepared for Vasily Lomachenko. For them, it's not just about putting up a good show. They are firmly focused on getting victory on Saturday night. He also mentions that the one strength that Richard has that he can utilize on Saturday night is his concentration. But I can tell you, when it comes to Richard Comey, it's all about the power in the right hand. A lot will depend on Richard Comey's right hand on Saturday night. We don't know the game plan. They won't give too much away. But from what I'm seeing here at the Madison Square Garden, Richard Comey is primed for this one. He knows what is at stake and is fully prepared. Hans Mensah Handel, Joy Sports, Madison Square Garden, New York.
Well, that was Hans Mensah Handel, and we'll be bringing in more reports as we get ready for the big fight on Saturday, December 11th. My name is Ore Kuwampofo, and that's the sport for now.
And that's how we wrap up the bulletin tonight. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. For more news, log on to myjoyonline.com. You'll get updates of all the developing stories. Enjoy the rest of our programs.